welcome to my monthly meet and greet. And if you have, there are some questions that was proposed earlier, so I'm going to touch on those questions. But if you have your own, please, come on in with your own question. That is welcome always. So this is just a little bit of my own extensive professional experiences in mental resiliency. I was, of course, on the tour for actually since my junior year. I was a pro when I was 17, or rather, I have a professional ranking when I was 17. But then I went to college, but then continued on my pro career and went on to coaching, which was something that was kind of funny because I didn't think I was going to go into coaching. Even when I was playing and people would just say, oh, you're going to go to coaching. Oh, no, I'm not going to go to. But of course, I ventured into coaching of, beginners, and then with pro players, transition players as well. And as you all know, I'm also a parent coach to my two children. And what really excites me these days is working with players on their mental strength, because that is one of the area which we can all agree on that is so critical to winning, not just winning matches, but really to be successful in life in other and different fields of endeavors. And so these are some of the questions that we're going to talk about. What should players do besides fitness? How should they stay in shape? Obviously, all these were revolving around, a lockdown situation right now. And not just a lockdown situation, but if you will, think about this. When your player is injured for an extended period of time, this is very real. Sort of that feeling of lockdown, no access or no practice time for them on the court. And so the feelings are very similar. It's just stranded with no tennis, basically. And then, moving on, how should they stay in shape? How should they stay mentally sharp? What type of tournaments should they play when tournament resume? And what can they do to stay motivated? And what is the process of college recruiting? So since our session is only for 45 minutes, and that's quite a lot of the questions, not that many, but the response, this is a discussion, it's a chat discussion. So when I get to an area of interest of yours, feel free to jump in for discussion. And if you needed more explanation, I'll be happy to do that. Don't be shy. Okay, so before we go into the responses to those questions, I would like to share this with you, because this is really just to remind us what normal tennis actually look like.
Every day this fall, this time we're the hunted. We're not used to that. Let's go out there. Let's give this crowd a show. It's Ohio against the world today, boys. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
This is something that I miss so much, and I'm sure everyone can relate to that. Whoops, what is that now?
Hey, boys.
I'm sure everyone can relate to that, just because we were missing not just the tennis, but also the opportunity for the entire world. When you watch tournaments on TV, that is what you're missing: the crowd, the energy that brings into tennis. So let's go back to our question. The first question was, what should your players do beside fitness? I was very pleasantly surprised to learn that a lot of the players, in fact, are getting their fitness in. But there are some things that your players can do besides the fitness, and yeah, that is meditation. Meditation obviously was geared towards more towards adults, but the last probably 5 7 years, more and more athletes are finding the benefits with the encouragement of the coaches, I'm sure. And meditation, if you are an advocate of meditation, the calmness it brings to you, the alignment of your body, and your mind just coming into one, and it's just that peaceful, uh, that mindset that you can get into. We all can agree that these days I feel like the players are all very unfocused, have very short span of their focus, and I do blame technology. And it's great technology, don't get me wrong, we're using technology now, but kids don't know. They are not the master of the technology. I feel like the technology is the master of them. And with that constant interruption, and it's not just me saying it, now science has proven that the constant technology it's interrupting with their focus, the ability to stay on one task for a long period of time. So I definitely would encourage you to have find there are Headspace is one of them that a lot of athletes do because it's easy. The first few sessions of Headspace, that's HEAD and then space, it's free. And it feel free. That's all your kids need. It's just the introduction to meditation. Our question number 2 was, how should they stay in shape? So, okay, so they've done the meditation, they're doing the fitness. Are a few things that doesn't require a lot of money or a lot of space, especially now that you're supposed to stay in one area. But even when you are able to explore the grounds, what I'm going to show you, these exercises are the exercises that some of the pro players I work with, they are still doing it. And of course, college players. And you can start these exercises as young as 5 years old because, athleticism is a big thing now. They've come a long way. And these are just some of the suggestions, variations.
Come on. Speed. That's not speed, 20 seconds.
So what we are doing on that jump rope, that skipping rope, is an interval. It's not just your regular jump rope. It's an interval of 20 seconds where they're going as hard. It's like a sprint, 20 seconds as fast as hard as they can, and then with 40 seconds of regular jumps. And we would do that 7 sets. So 1 set of sprint and 1 set of normal jumps, that's equal to 1 set. And you want to do 7 of those. And trust me, their arms will feel like they're going to fall off. And this next one is the band work, where you put the band around the ankle. So you're working on your hip flexors as well as your knees. The ball going around the body is something that is critical, because as a player, when you're moving on the court, you have to be able to still control your upper body as you're moving with your feet. And as you have seen Djokovic, who was practically could do a split on the court, and he's still able to control the top. And then we have this third one where it's balancing, that is so good for ankles and knees and hips. And if you don't have those Bosu ball there, you don't actually have to go buy anything. You can have your child and do it with them too. It's kind of fun. Stand on one foot and close your eyes, put a timer on, click the timer for 30 seconds. We do 1 minute, and close your eyes. You will be amazed how off balance you can be, and make sure for safety guards to stay away from anything around you, no tables, go into an open space, because you are going to be losing your balance. So these three are some of the exercises that I've done with our players when these was done last year during the lockdown. And question number 3, how should they stay mentally sharp? These are some really, really good questions. Be a student of the game. So this is a really good time. The kids, okay, they still have school, but normally if your kids are anything like my kids, they're all day, they're just so scheduled, it's full, and they just don't have the time to do a lot of other things besides the school and the tennis and the fitness and tournaments, whatnot. But this is the time where there's not a lot of things happening, and they can actually use the time to study the game. So I have this player pull up a match, actually matches. And word of caution about YouTube, I really refrain and discourage your child from looking at those highlights, just because, highlights to me are fairy tales, because it's always focusing on the end, those flashy things or the flashy shots, or like it's more of an entertainment purpose. But if you're going to study the game, you really need to want to pull up a match. The least you can do is a full set, right? A match would be great, because what you want to look at are different things. But I have this particular player looking at where you see the pink and the blue. It's the first serve and second serve, so the placement of the serve. So I had this player look at, after the first serve, where did the first ball go? After the second serve, where did that first ball go? So the first, they serve, the player serves, the return comes back, and then the first hit. So basically, that's the studying of, and this player, based on this diagram, the player was shocked, because forever I'm telling her, you got to keep the balls deep, and then corner, put your serves on the corner and make the player run. So with this, it's very clear to my player, like all of a sudden visually, like, oh yeah, all of a sudden, this is based on 2 sets, 7, 6, 7, 5. So she is seeing very clearly where the serves are landing, where the shots, how deep the shots are. And then we also looked at, I had her looking at returns, first serve against first serve and against second serve. And again, very telltale right in front of us, and the returns are very deep. And then you can also get a little more sophisticated. Now I have the player, okay, go back to that match and look at 30 alls. How does, only when the server is serving, so see where the 30 alls, where the person is serving, and if they won or lost. So it's like minus if that player lost that point after 30 all, and then plus if she won it, and then G for game. And because I can assure you, what differentiate a top player, a successful player versus a mediocre player, it lies in the important points. And that's usually how they play at 30 alls and up, 30 alls and deuces. That's when you go, all of a sudden, bam, you see this, like all of a sudden these big serves coming in, or, very focused on the court, that they're not making dumb mistakes. So be a student of the game, I say, always. Before we go on to, the next question, I want to share with you why I do what I do. Yeah, sure. People know of me, professional player, ranked 26 in the world, Olympian, and number one in Canada, and semifinalist of Australian Open, finalist of Indian Wells. Yes, I did all that, and all those are fine. But what most people don't know was that my deepest desire when I played was to be number one in the world. And it wasn't just me saying it. Bollettieri said I had the potential to be number one, and that's why I got scholarship up to train with him. John Newcomb said the same thing, and the late Harry Hopman said the same thing. Those are the three biggest academies during my time. And when I went on the tour, I couldn't. 26 was the best that I did. Obviously, that was not too shabby, but for me, who wanted to be number one, I couldn't level up to that 25 more spots. I knew also why, and that was I was fit. I was one of the fittest players and one of the quickest players on the tour. And as well, I was really smart. Mentally, I was lacking of a number one player. I knew that I needed help. I was pretty strong mentally anyways. I needed that level up of the mental strength. Who, I was trying to find someone, but in those days there weren't a lot available. I found one lady, but she was just starting out and she was helping me through meditation. I just never got the help that I needed, and that was a very big reason why I chose to do what I'm doing now, helping players with their mental strength, because I'm not just saying it, but true to my professional personal experiences, that is the area how I know you know as well, is so critical in every endeavor to be successful at. And I chose to do this because not only do I have the experiences, but I know how to get around it. And of course, the wiser with age, I am able to help the kids. And throughout my coaching career, it always comes back to that one thing, the mental aspect of the game. And I just want to show you that, I started rather the Mind Gym workshop a few weeks ago. And it was really, really cool. And why is because I was able, it's one thing to know your information in here, is quite another to really share it so that the player can understand you, and quite another game when you have to chunk everything down. And it has taught me so much throughout the journey to how to chunk things down, where my goal was to bring that mental side to even a 5-year-old can understand it. And as I'm working with the players, they are showing me they understand and they're excited, and that is key, because if I can get them to be excited about the mental strength, it's an education itself, then the journey is going to be fantastic. And I have big hopes for these players. So I want to share with you, I know some people cannot grasp the concept of, what do you mean mental training? There are no tournaments. So how is it possible you can train anyone in the mental aspect? But let me show you a few, obviously we don't have the time to show all these sessions. So I just picked up one or two things to show you what is it that we do in there. So one of the lessons that we talk about, what can being mentally tough do for you? And we talk about it. Yeah, you get to fight harder. You build mental muscles, and you start believing in yourself. And we go on. I actually created these goals. What is it that they want from being mentally tough, that they actually answer? Because with further up the road, they're actually, with those goals that they put in, we're going to be doing visualization with them. And these are some of the examples what that they get from mentally tougher. A lot of the players, and these examples are a lot of the times is what I hear from players and parents and coaches as well, to be more focused, that they have lost focus in the match. So why do you want to be more focused? To be able to stay focused longer in the match, to be able to focus on important points. Be fearless. Why do you want to be fearless? To play with guts and courage. A lot of the times, players will say, I could not compete the way I train because they're also fearful. Okay, so what else can you get from mentally tougher? To embrace pressure. Pressure is a huge thing with the players all across. What the stress, the pressure puts the stress on them, and then they start feeling they're incompetent on the court. They cannot deal with the obstacles or when the challenges that the opponent is putting on them, um, making their life miserable, basically. Pressure is a lesson that is not going to be covered in, but it's going to be across the entire duration of the workshop. To have fun. Why? Because to be not so worried about what people say or think, if they feel so judged. And I know personally, and you may have guessed it as well, it doesn't matter what parents say. Your kids always feel judged when you give them feedback. My kids do the same. They will come tell me that they feel judged. So we actually talk about it, and that's my goal. My job is to, like, hey, you know what, it's how you see things. It's about learning. It's not about judging. It's not about being right or wrong. It's just about learning and then moving on. There are lessons to be learned. So, and another example is like, okay, to play in world class. When I was growing up, yeah, I wanted to be number one, like I said earlier, but that didn't come till later. Early on, when I started competing, yeah, there weren't that many matches on TV. It was just the Grand Slams. But boy, all I could think of, like, wow, I want to be, with the world class. I want to play like a world class. I want to be with them. So that actually was my goal before I actually wanted to be number one, to be in the world class. It wasn't to be a pro, but it was to be among the best of the best. And then, of course, there is the tennis population, maybe less than 1% that players have the ability and everything else to turn pro. The majority of the tennis population, they're going to be looking for scholarships. So we talk about that too. Why do they want a scholarship? To feel more accomplished. So that is some of the examples that I share with the kids that they resonate with, which I'm sure as you do. Another thing is belief. We talk about, why is belief in yourself so important? And because what you believe to be true is true. What you think you can or can't, you are right, because you have already convinced yourself. Okay, so back to our questions. Question number 4: what can they do to stay motivated? This is a big thing because when you're injured or when it's locked down, your entire routine is upside down. You can't possibly have the kids to be sitting down and do school all day long. The best thing you can do is to help them to create a schedule where it mimics their training program. So I have this player, because she was playing twice a day, and in the morning. So we decided what type of fitness or what type of workouts that she's going to do. So we put the allotted time was in the morning during her training hours. And then same thing in the afternoon, so that in her brain, she is keeping that routine. My son was injured and had a severe elbow injury. He was out for 2.5 years. And that is exactly what I'm showing you here. That was exactly what I did with him as well, was that, he couldn't move his upper arm. So it was very challenging. I had to be very creative to put a schedule together where in the morning he would be doing a certain core or leg work, or he wasn't allowed to run either because he had the brace on. So we had to do like the biking, the different things. So we did that for a good 9 solid months, where the goal was by the time he came back on the court, that he, his cardiovascular, his endurance from the lower body, his strength is there, and he's ready to take off. And he was a little rusty, and it took about a week for him to get his tennis back. But because he was doing all these I had him doing all these fitness, he was able to come back very, very quickly. And within a year, I think he, was winning provincials and nationals and whatnot. So there is definitely, there are things that we can do in this madness of scheduling that we don't have. And the biggest challenge it is to keep your kids motivated, to help them, stay in tune with what they want with their tennis. So question number 5, what is the process of college recruiting? Now that one, it's very interesting because, as we all know, you may not know, I don't know, some of you may, because of the pandemic, it has given a year back to the seniors of college seniors. So that means whoever was graduating after 4 years, they were able to come back if they choose to come back for the 5th year with that scholarship money. And so far, 100% of everybody is coming back for their 5th year, because it's free. So, which also means it has less scholarships for the high school seniors, and it is a terrible time, I will have to tell you, especially for seniors. And the second terrible are when they're in juniors. However, it's not all doomed and gloomed. This is the time, because the university is coming to the end of their terms. In the summer, this is the time when there's a lot of changes going on, where a lot of the players find that they may not be a good fit for the school, or the coaches decided like they're going to revoke the scholarship. So everybody go in the portal. Because of the pandemic, the NCAA also changed that. In previous years, if you were to change university, you had to sit out for a year and redshirt and cannot play. But because of the pandemic, that year has been removed. So now everybody's changing schools like crazy. That they're not happy with the coach or whatever reason, they go in that portal, and then the other schools goes in the portal and then picks out the player. So as all these changes take place, there will be scholarships open up, obviously. So parents, I urge you, if you have a senior high school or a junior in high school, have them be very proactive, reaching out to coaches. Hey, are there any changes? Hey, I'm still interested. Just be in the loop, connecting with them. And I want to bring another point towards college recruiting. There are agencies out there who may promise you that they can do a lot of things for your player, or offer that scholarships. There's no guarantee of scholarships these days. A big factor is that the coaches are not traveling out of the country to recruit anybody. So they're looking at their UTR. If you're in the States, they're looking at the blue chip players because they have a different system over there, or by connecting with coaches they know. So yeah, I get calls. I talk to coaches periodically of different schools, just because of my background, and some of them are actually my friends or my previous coaches. So it's not. Don't get sucked in by the agencies that they can guarantee you anything. The best thing that you can do is there are very systematic things that you can do. If you are interested, just email me and I can just give you those general guidelines, and you can definitely save yourself a lot of money and be on your own way. Another big thing, though, is to make sure your player is in contact with his or her coach at home. That reach out to the coach for help. They're gonna need a letter of reference from the coach or from the tennis director. Number one, make sure the coach in town knows that he or she is interested in going to college. And I can't stress enough about college. Another, somebody asked me a really good question the other day about college is, how do you find a good fit? How do you find a good fit? Excellent question. especially now in pre-pandemic, you can travel and go look at the school, visit the schools, unofficial visits and official visits. But these days, there's really no visiting anywhere. So at best, you what you want to do is look at on the roster of the school that your kids are interested. Look on the roster to see if they recognize any names. Reach out to coaches. Do you know such and such coach? Because you want to get a feel of the coaching style from the coaches from the college, because I can promise you it's the coaching style is completely different from every school, especially from your academy, your kids' academy or program. Completely different style. It's super important that they get a good chemistry, because if you think about it, if your child is more of the reasonable type, not the rah-rah type, so they may prefer a coach who takes the time and explain things to them, and taking the time to know about them, to care about them, then you wouldn't want to go to a college where all they care is about winning, because they don't care. If you go into a college coach and all they care is about winning more than your growth, then that's going to be a big contradiction right there, and that's going to be causing a lot of misery. I think that is all I have. Answered all those questions for you. I do thank you, everyone, for taking the time this evening to share with me. It is going to be a monthly meet and greet. I need your help to get the words out. And, if what I say through my Instagram, I try to put these motivational videos and little pro tips in there. If that resonate with you, so please, follow me, like me, and give me a thumbs up of any kind.